So I have with me Mr. Rodney Grant, who is the Special Advisor in the Office of Reparations and Economic Enfranchisement. Welcome, Mr. Grant.
Happy to be here.
Thank you very much. We are reviewing the Emancipation Day procession from 2023. One of the most noteworthy elements of this procession was the convergence of four different groups.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, we wanted to reflect on how it was done a few years ago, and as we seek to build out the season of emancipation going forward, we kind of step back to come forward, because this was a process that was done a few years ago when Afro was Prime Minister, and we wanted to, as we continue to build out the season of the emancipation, look at how we can get more involvement. So we have our organizations coming from the four cardinal points, as you will call it, towards the Emancipation Statue. And so we have Pinelands Creative Workshop bringing a contingent from the south. We have the Haynesville Youth Organization bringing a contingent from the north. We have Israel Lovell coming up from the west. And then we have Dance in Africa coming from the east. So that's how we're doing it this year. And then they're all going to converge at the Emancipation Statue as we then await the arrival of the Cadet Corps and the members that will be participating with the Cadet Corps. Okay,
so the folks on the ground, the attendees of the event, they reported that this year was the largest attendance they saw.
Yeah.
What was it like getting these different organizations on board?
Well, it was a lot. It took a lot of coordination, like before, obviously, a lot of calls. And, there were some challenges recognizing that, particularly for the schools were on vacation. A lot of the children were away. So it proved some difficulties, but we were able to make contact with some of the headmasters. And it really took a lot of work. I brought in some additional persons to help with the coordination, with the phone calls, to try to pull it together. But what was useful is that we were able to lean on two programs within government. One, the NCF's Intangible Cultural Heritage program that they're doing in communities. And two, there's also a youth development program by Youth Affairs. So we were able to pull on those two programs and then pull on the existing cultural organizations like Pinelands and Haynesville and Israel Lovell and stuff to kind of make it all come together. So yeah, it was some work. It took some coordinating to do, but yeah, we made it happen. So here we're looking at the Haynesville Youth Organization getting ready. We can see in the background the Youth Commissioner, Peter Skeet. He's the main driver in that community, and we can see they're starting to move off, coming from the northerly direction, led by the Tuk Band. And the Tuk Band players, this is the original sound of Barbados. This is we call the engine of the landship. And you will see this, being very prominent throughout the day's proceedings. Here we have the members of the Haynesville Youth Club making their entrance from the northerly direction.
And I realized that the music, it's not somber music, it's lively, quite celebratory music.
But the Tuk Band has three particular rhythms that they play. We call the 6/8, which we call the waltz, which is, kind of the slow pattern. And then we have the mid-range, we call the fassi. It's as well as a step up from the 6/8. And then we have what we call the 4/4. And the guys will tell you this is when the engine is in full rev. So the 4/4 you will find more in terms of calypso timing. So those are the four patterns you will see. As they're walking slowly, we'll probably be playing the 6, they call it 6/8 or the fassi pattern, and then they will kind of speed it up a little bit. Yeah, and they have the full Tuk Band. Actually, they have the triangle. You can see the triangle, the kettle, the flute, and the bass. Although the old-time Tuk Band man will tell you it's not a full Tuk Band unless you have two kettles. You have the first, the lead, and the second. This is the Pioneers Creative Workshop, and again they have the tuck band, 2 kettles, 2 bass. Well, they're a little bit closer to the band. They don't have the flute and they don't have the triangle, and I think they're being joined by the children from Brantley Prescott and Grisettes.
And some Pan-Africanists as well with
and a few members of the public as well. Here this is looks like Israel Lovell in the west, coming from the west. Yes, you can see Shaq there with the djembe drum. And you can see Salif in the background as well. So this is the members of this is Corey there with the kettle drum. So those are members of the Israel Lovell as they prepare as well. So they're joining up to come from the westerly direction as well.
And they're getting ready with some drum rolls.
Some lively music. Some lively music, yeah. You know, they're using the traditional African drum, in this instance, joined with the traditional tuk rhythm as well. So they're fusing the tuk with the African djembe drum.
Yeah,
this is also members of the Hayesville Dance Troupe as well. Is their looks like members of their junior company. Looks like vocabulary from the Landship as well. Yeah, they was just doing the Sailor Hop. So this is vocabulary from the Landship movement. And as well, they're joined from a few members of the public as well, coming from the north of Barbados, from Norman Niles Roundabout, direction Norman Niles Roundabout. And they're being led as well by a marshal there as well. She's giving them directions as they move towards the Emancipation statue. You know, you said Emancipation statue earlier, and it kind of pricked my memory because most people say Bussa,
the Bussa
and
statue.
we tend to forget that it's really the Emancipation statue because we really don't know what Bussa looks like. We didn't have a picture of him, and therefore we put what we felt that he looked like, and it's really representative of the Emancipation and what he would have stood for in terms of emancipation. We have Senior Minister William Duguid, and next to him is Minister within the Prime Minister's Office with responsibility for culture, Honorable Chantal Monroe-Knight, and next to her is Special Envoy in the Office of Reparations and Economic Enfranchisement, Trevor Prescott. Behind Minister Knight is His Honor Reginald Farley, Leader of the Senate, as well. Next to him is Ambassador David Commission. As well, we have this is Michael B. Maxwell, Bishop of Barbados. I can see next to him, it looks like the ambassador from Venezuela. And then we have the Cuban ambassador and the Deputy Permanent Secretary, the Division of Culture. So we have the official contingent in front. So they're all on the move, north, south, east, and west. They're on the move soon to all congregate at the Emancipation statue.
This lady in the white.
That is Shelley Durant. She's leading the contingent. She is the chief choreographer at the Pioneers Creative Workshop, and you will normally see her when there are large landship processions at national events. She's normally the choreographer. She's normally the captain leading the band. Here you have, coming from the east, you're seeing for the first time, the contingent led by Jeffrey Ify Wilkinson. He think he will soon come into focus. There he is in the green shirt. This is where the be members that participated in his training workshop through the NCF Intangible Cultural Heritage Program, focusing on the landship. And so he is the tutor for this group. And behind him, you will have members of Dance in Africa, bringing down the contingent from the east. The east is where the white people came from. So we're hoping we have some wisdom in there. And Jeffrey Ify Wilkinson, you would know him as one of Barbados' most prolific stilt walkers. He's a djembe drummer, conga drummer, tuk band drummer, a former member of Rukatuk, former member of Yoruba Yard. He has a history when it comes to culture and cultural development in Barbados.
they're slowly reaching.
Yeah, they're getting there. They're getting there a little bit at a time. They're chipping along. chipping along. They're probably preparing for Kaduma the next day, you know. They're getting their chip in order. Getting their practice chipping. There you have it. Again, let's continue to use the vocabulary from the Barbados Landship, and you know it is a good choice because you know these are all things that emerged post-emancipation as we sought to recapture, you know, our African retentions in both dance, song, and music. We look at, you know, the vocabulary that our ancestors would have left. So this is all important part of our African retentions. You have the contingent still coming down there like halfway, you know, at the halfway point, slowly trotting along.
I noticed a number of young people.
Young children, yeah. As I said earlier, we would have pulled these from the schools, various schools across Barbados that Pilots would have been working with through the ICH program, as well as within the Youth Affairs. We did a program earlier with Youth Affairs. And look, it's important for them to be part of this, even if to be there, you know, they can look back someday and say, yes, I walked on this day, August the 1st, towards the Emancipation statue to celebrate Emancipation Day in Barbados. This is something that's important to us, important to our ancestors, to be able to reflect, to remember, and to pay homage to those who went before and suffered for us to be here today, you know.
And you know, it is always a good sign when so many government officials are present at the procession.
Definitely.
It legitimizes it more so than, you know, just the usual Pan-African groups organizing and proceeding.
Exactly. And this year we have many government officials participating.
There
I see Kemar Harris there. He's there as well, representing the Sons of God, Apostolic Spiritual Baptist Faith from Jerusalem. So we have, this is definitely a step up from previous years in terms of participation from government, from the general public, from cultural organizations. And you know, I always say that emancipation is not about Pan-Africanism, it's about all Barbadians.
all Barbadians.
And therefore, if it means that all Barbadians should be seen as Pan-Africanists, then, you know, here we have Nadia Mitchell. She's a representative from the Pilots Group, and she is leading the contingent from the East. Again, you can see the officials from government. So I think, you know, this is a significant step up from previous years.
Definitely.
You know, definitely. I think the group from the East, I think they have actually reached the Emancipation statue. You can see some children there from Blackman and Gollop. That is the primary school in the East. Yes, representatives as well from the Barbados Landship there, and it is, as I said earlier, Dance in Africa, members from Dance in Africa who joined them from the East coming down. So they're very close. We're now, you know, closing in on the Emancipation statue. So very soon we shall have a full convergence. Then after, we should see the procession of the Cadet Corps, BDF, and the Barbados National Youth Service. They're going to come out of the Sherburne, the conference center. There you have the government officials slowly moving towards the Emancipation statue. General members of the public. Here you see some members of the 12th tribe, Rastafarian faith in Barbados. The ladies looking all splendiferous in the ice gold and green tams, you know. So very good, you know. Again, this is, you know, increased participation from faith groups, expanded faith groups, the Rastafarian faith, from members of the Spiritual Baptist. We have members of the Christian community being represented through the Right Reverend Michael B. Maxwell, Bishop of Barbados.
That seems to be the St. Michael Parish Ambassador.
Yes, as well.
The Parish Independence
So we have
Committee
the Parish
involved.
Independence Committees involved. Because they would have been part 2 of the whole season of the Emancipation. They would have led activities in the 11 parishes for April the 28th, so they continue to play their role this day in the Emancipation Walk. We have to say thanks as well to the Parish Independent Secretariat and for the good work they're doing in communities across Barbados.
Excellent shot by Christopher Wood, placing everything in perspective.
Yeah. This is coming from Parkinson, from the south. It looks like.
So what do we expect to see when all 4 groups converge?
Well, once they converge by the Emancipation statue, we will have the laying of the wreaths. First, the procession of the service organizations. Then we have laying of 3 wreaths by Ambassador Commission, Minister Monroe Knight, the Cuban Ambassador and Special Envoy. And then we have the national anthem being played by the service organizations. And then we will have a massive landship and maypole presentation led by the Pioneers Creative Workshop. I think the 3 maypoles, so we have 3 large maypoles and a large landship presentation, over 100 children at one time. So I think there's going to be a significant display in front of the Emancipation statue as we start the morning.
This is quite a production.
It is quite a production.
How do we ensure that more Barbadians see this type of activity at the next procession?
Well, exactly what we're doing here. Rashid, this is where CBC comes in, where television comes in. Television do what we can't do. The television show it to the world, not only to all Barbadians, but you showcase this to the world. This is the power of television. You can show this and stream this almost instantly in a way that you bring Barbadians and you bring people across the world to the space. So this is the power of television. So, as our partner, we rely on you to do what you do best. So there we have it as well. Again, here's members of Dance in Africa as all the various groups emerge on the scene, and we wait still for the official contingent. They're still slowly moving along, coming from the west. So as we wait for them, we have members of Dance in Africa and the various groups there doing some impromptu performances in front of the Emancipation statue as we await the arrival of the official group. They're moving a little slowly, coming along. I think they have a very large contingent coming up.
I think it's the largest contingent.
Yeah. As I said earlier, members of the Israel Level group looking all pretty in their African wear. Here we have Umfra Wells and his wife Andrea Wells, Chief Cultural Officer from NCF. We have coming up.
There are a number of spiritual groups involved. What is the significance of the Bishop of Barbados being in attendance at this procession?
Well, Christianity played a significant role, people would say, historically in slavery, and therefore as we try to unmake the webs of enslavement, it's important that organizations who participated in it need to play a part of peeling away those negative layers, and therefore it's important as we in a modern society that we can have persons like the bishop come and take part in processes like emancipation. It shows now a more positive role of the church in something like that our African ancestors would have fought for. So I think it's important for all faith groups to be part of processes like this, because spirituality and whatever faith that you practice, I think is important to the involvement of our people, and we need some kind of spiritual grounding.
We do.
Whether it's Christianity or whatever, it's absolutely important. This is Dance in Africa. As I said, they're doing some impromptu performances again. They're using landscape vocabulary. This is called Testing the Waters as we await the official contingent who's still easing along and coming in and easing their way up, coming from the west.
I think they were impressed by the performances of Dance in Africa.
Yeah.
And the Israel Level Foundation.
Definitely, you know, these are all energetic, what we call Pan-African groups, groups that reflect the retentions of Afrocentricity. And this is important, you know, we have to be able to keep these things alive. I always say, you know, quite like to quote Walter Rodney when he said African people have an ancestral dignity that they must rediscover and keep alive, you know. So these groups definitely have been rediscovering their African ancestry and certainly keeping it alive in their various presentations across Barbados. Here you have the fusion of djembe and tuk. You have Salif there joined by Shaq on the djembe drums, Corey on the traditional tuk. So it's a fusion of tuk and djembe. Tuk and African come together. And you know, some people argue that tuk originally came from Ghana. You know, it's the rhythm and the use of the drums, you know, it's Ghanaian. It's a lot of it is still out for debate in terms of where the rhythm emerged from. But for sure, we know that the Africans would have mocked the traditional British bands in terms of the waltz, and we've got this for what we call the 6/8 patterns and stuff from. I think now they're about just arrived. Here it is. We have the Zouave Band, a merge of the Zouave Band, the Barbados Cadet, and Youth Advanced Corps. So this is an amalgamation of the three: Youth Advanced Corps, the Barbados Cadets, and the BDF Band. One
thing that I've noticed is the prevalence of purely Barbadian music. And when they're marching, you know, they march the same timing, but it's Barbadian music.
Oh yes, that is important. It's important for them to be able to be, you know, continue to reflect. And you know, we say now we're a republic, and in order to celebrate being a republic, you know, we have to celebrate Barbadian things. And you know, whether it's food, whether it's dress, whether it's our language. So all those idiosyncrasies that make us Barbadian, you know, we have to be able to celebrate those things. And music definitely is one of those things that is important to Barbadian people. You know, it's what keeps us alive. And this is the season for music. This is the season of emancipation, and certainly the season of crop over. Here you have it. The Emancipation statue, better known as the Buster statue. Here they are, looking splendidly in their uniforms.
As sharp as always.
Always. This is Barbados at its best as we all come together to celebrate Emancipation Day in Barbados, August the 1st, 2023.
I want to thank you, Mr. Grant, for your excellent commentary and for your ability to put things in perspective so that we get a better understanding of what is happening, why is it happening, and why it is significant. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you as well, Rashid, for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.